Welcome back, dear listeners, to yet another episode of Hacking Your Potential. I'm Frankie Thomas, your guide on this journey through the stories of those who strive to maximize their potential, breaking boundaries, and defying expectations. Today, we have a special guest who has not only impressed me with his skills and discipline, but also with his remarkable ability to connect with people. Genuine, interested, and always sincere in his interactions. A man I'm proud to call a friend. Meet Daniel Okoro. Daniel's journey is nothing short of inspirational. From the heart of Nigeria, he dreamt of mastering cybersecurity. Not one to merely dream, he packed his bags, embarked on a journey to a brave new land, the United Kingdom, with his partner and child by his side. An epitome of discipline, resilience, and responsibility. Daniel's story showcases the limitless bounds of human potential. His passion to learn, combined with the love for his family and unwavering commitment to his dreams, paints a picture of a man whose insights are invaluable. So, as we peel back the layers of his journey, I'm sure we all have something significant to learn from his experiences. Ladies and gentlemen, brace yourself for an hour of inspiration, discovery, and more as we dive into the life of the remarkable Daniel Okoro. Daniel, thank you for joining me today on Hacking Your Potential. It's a pleasure to have you on, and thank you so much for getting up so early to meet me as well. So Daniel, the reason I wanted to speak to you today was because, I was really impressed with the way you approached me and the way you the way you use words, basically. I think it's a really successful way to network. But just so people get to know you a little bit better, how did you get into cybersecurity and IT?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on the show. So how I got into cybersecurity and IT, it's a whole long story. I'll try to keep it short. So growing up, right from childhood, there's something about children and we just get to do what our parents are doing. So my dad was an architect, so he was always drawing. When you get up by this kind of hour, you find him at the table or desk having some paper, sketching something, and I was always seeing him do those things. So organically, I started drawing. That was the beginning of my story. And then, somewhat that just opens you to creativity, opens your mind up to, doing stuff. So it started with losing everything in the house. So why that tends towards more like electrical engineering, you're losing the video recorder, the cassette player, the broken TV, trying to see the tube inside. For we that grew up in the late 90s, the early 1980, thereabout. So that was just the culture of losing everything in the house that is broken and then trying to get it all fixed. So the whole journey started, I won't call it a fortunate mistake, when my dad got me a computer, because I was meant to be an architect. I was drawing floor plans and all of that, Tom and Jerry and all of those things. But my dad got me a computer, and then I think that should be around, probably I was 11, thereabouts, something. So there was this Windows 2000, then I can't forget Dangerous Dave, having to load that program, and all of those things. So I got so used to seeing the whole black prompt, the whole computer black prompt from Windows 2000, Windows 98 thereabouts. So that started the journey. So the obsession with computers just started, video gaming and everything. And, I just naturally just started shifting my whole, desire towards anything computing. So just to back it up, so I had that childhood growing up and then got into university, and it was time to choose a course. There's an episode of secondary school. I was supposed to be an art student, but somehow I switched to science, even though I had very, very terrible grades. You don't want to see that. So getting into university, I decided to pick a course, information and communication technology. So that was the whole being the beginning of my journey into IT. So I studied IT. In school, I was distracted a whole lot because I played soccer. I have some medals and all that stuff. And my goal was to build apps, actually. That was what I had. I was like, okay, I want to build stuffs. I want to have an app that could share information with people. Well, growing up, I was a little bit religious. So I was the whole religious information. So I wanted an app that could spread information. That was my whole goal, just that. So I think that was the beginning of IT. Then cybersecurity started 7 years down the line in my career. I got talking with a friend, Patrick Giwa. He's right here in London. He's a tech guru, a product manager. And he was like, hey, cyber is cool. You need to check out cyber. It's a skill that is needed in the industry. And, like one terrible thing, I'll save that talk for later, just in case if it's going to pop up. I was very, very comfortable in my comfort zone. I was like, I'm a network engineer, on-premise guy, I have experience. Do I need to start changing career? Transition is very, very difficult, especially when you don't have the right people to talk to. So I talked to Patrick a whole lot, and he was encouraging me, hey, think of cyber. I didn't even look at what cyber was. I just went to an international office in my country. I told the agent, hey, I'm looking for an admission in the UK, and I was like, what's your budget? And I was like, anything, I just want cyber. They were like, you want cyber? And she was like, oh, you need to come up with a whole cover letter, like, and all that, why I want to study cyber. And then universities were almost closing down. I think it was sometime in July, June. I said, okay, just find me any university that does cyber. She was like, oh, she has one for me. It's online university. So I started reading about cyber. I had to come up with I had to blend my whole journey and my experience to why I want to study cyber. And man, I found myself doing cybersecurity.
That's a wicked story, Daniel. So let me get this right. So, your journey started off young as a creative, sort of drawing designs. Your father was an architect, so you sort of I don't know if you're helping him, but drawing designs with him. And then you started, messing around with gadgets and devices around the house and taking them apart. There's actually so many people who get involved they end up in cyber or they end up in IT. It always starts from bashing things or trying to fix things. I was one of those who had to take everything apart. I never put it back together. I put everything in a box and I just had a pile of like circuit boards and wires and motors and you name it, it was in this box. So like I said earlier on at the beginning of the show, that the reason that I wanted to speak to you and the reason I became friends with you is because I love the way that you talk to people. So like the way Daniel approaches people, he's very, he'll always like compliment you on things you've done. He avoids talking about himself. He always makes sure that, every time Daniel sends you a message, you feel good. And I think that's it's a really important point for networking. So apart from, getting to meet me through the way you interact with people, do you have a lot of success with your networking through the way that you approach people?
Well, thank you for the question. So now, talking to people is not natural for me because I'm an ambivert. I was more of an introvert growing up. So, you see, if you want to go far in networking, you have to put people first. You have to create genuine relationships. It has to be genuine. Like, you don't just, let's back it up. Now, Frankie, when we were growing up, I don't think we had social media that made networking very, very easy and effortless. Kind of, I could just bump into your face, and say, hey, Frankie, I want to talk to you. And then you just keep staring at that notification. Who's this guy? Do I have to talk to him? Let's back it up to our childhood. Now, if I'm trying to get to McDonald's, how do you get there? You don't have Google Map to pull it up and then, look at it and all of those stuffs. You need to ask somebody. So I need to excuse me, Frankie, please, am I on the right path to McDonald's? Now, once you're polite, once, you have your manners right or something, anybody who is kind enough, who is not having the worst of day, will definitely try to help you. So, have I been successful with networking? Well, yes. Talking to you now is a success story. And so I don't know if I've tried to answer your question best I could.
Yeah, so I love the point that you made about when we grew up, we didn't have these phones. We didn't, we couldn't just message people or go on Google Maps. If we wanted to go and see our friends, we'd have to go knock on their doors and ask their mother if they were in. And, you'd have to be polite to their mother or they'd probably crack you around the back of the head with something. But it does make sense. So, like, for instance, if you just go up to someone and ask for their help, there's a good chance they might say no. But if you go up to them and say, "Oh, mate, I love your jacket. Oh, by the way, while you're here, can you tell me where the McDonald's is?" And he'd be like, "Oh, thanks. Yeah, I'll even show you where it is. In fact, do you want to know where I can get the jacket from?" So it is a great point. I read a book. I'd advise anybody who really wants to network. I sometimes get this wrong, but it's How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dave Carnegie, I think his name, or Dave Carnegie or something. It was a book written in the 1950s, and I read it about 2 years ago, and it's, 50 years, 60 years, well, even 70 years later. God, the decades fly off the calendar, don't they? It was written almost 70, 80 years ago, and the information in there is still relevant today. But no, yeah, so since we're on the topic of networking, Daniel, how important do you think networking is, especially in like IT and cybersecurity these days?
For me, scale of 1 to 10, I would say networking is 11. Sorry, I have to break the numbers, So you see, I call it 11 because if you're looking at binary, it takes two people to like tango. So you and I, we are talking to each other now because there's a genuine interest, that is bidirectional. So you see, let's look at, from my experience professionally, I would say Rome is so great because they build roads, and it's only roads that will get you places. So it's the same thing if we bring that to our life, our career, our personal, relationships. You need to build all of these relationships. They are very, very important. They are vital. It's going to take you places. So I won't say we should climb on people, but people are like ladders. So now you have an information for me to get to McDonald's. I'll stay on that foundation that we've laid. Without you, I can't get to where I'm going to. I could just... Now, no matter how fast you're walking on the wrong direction, you're never going to get to your destination. But if you're on the right direction, you will easily get to where you're going to. So if I want to go to London, and instead of boarding King Cross, heading towards London, I choose to board the metro, which is taking me the other way around. I will never get to my destination. So it's very, very important. I really commend you for remembering the names of author of books. I only just remember the title. I just like to stick with the title. But if I get to read like 2 or 3 of your books, I will stick your name with them, land somewhere in my memory, and then probably become saved in a tuple instead of some list that could be replaced. So there are so many books that will help you with networking, how to talk to people and influence, talk to anyone. There are so many books out there, like off the shelves, that could get you, building those skills. But like me, I never read any of those books. I was an introvert. I was always in my corner. I went to a boys only school. That's weird to tell you. So I wasn't used to interacting a lot with people. We got to talk about weird things in school. So the importance of networking is an 11. So you need to network with people, your peers, try to get yourself a mentor, try to get yourself, people who you could bounce the right ideas off. So, it's very, very, very important. And then there's an idea I have in my head, which I call people stacking. Now, just like your web browser, when you get to visit Google and then you visit Facebook, probably on the same tab, and then you visit YouTube. Now, you could always go back to the back tab you get. So it stacks that information for you. You could always go back. So now if you stack up people like that, now I know Frankie. Now Frankie knows Marco. Now I have a direct access to Marco. Now, because Frankie knows Marco knows probably King Charles. I have access to King Charles. So that's your network. So you see, just like the protocols of the internet connect us effortlessly to people and to places, people connect you to things you can't imagine. Now, you can even connect to a dead person by his books. So that is still a form of networking. So you have to just keep networking on the go.
No, I love that point that you just made about, You know, if I know Marco, Marco might know Prince Charles, and then you have direct access to Prince Charles. Because when you think about it in that sort of sense, I guess like we all have the ability or the potential to connect to every single person in the world through just one person, you know, because unless there's, you know, one person who is completely isolated and doesn't know anyone, I think technically we are connected. So the more of those tabs you can open up, the more, let's say, sort of like, you know, redirectory links you're going to find inside them pages, which are going to bring you to new websites to find new information. So no, I totally understand as well. Like networking for me, it's really important. Like I got into cyber thinking because I was sick of, like, I tried to be a PT, and like I started to realize the main thing for being a PT was, you know, dealing with clients, you know, understanding their needs and really using the psychology to get inside their mind and figure out who they are. And I thought, I just want to go to the gym. So I thought, I got into cyber, and I thought, right, I can just sit behind my computer typing away. I don't have to talk to anyone. And then very quickly I realized, no, you need to network here as well. So I thought, no, let's start figuring out how to work with people. Because I'll say this to anybody listening, if you think you can do this on your own, and even InfoSec Pat said, you know, he just tried to stay in his lane. And even he figured out, you know, that eventually you're going to have to start speaking to people. And the main goal in life as well, is to try and help people. You know, even you hear about the richest people in the world, the millionaires, billionaires, whatever. You know, a lot of them, they spend a good chunk of their money on trying to help people who need the money, because they realize very quickly that they don't actually need the money. So the end goal is always to help people. So why not start there?
Yeah, that was wicked, man. You see, you had a very, very good points with helping people. So, well, I'm someone who my parents have helped a lot, you know, to bring me up to this point. So, and then we just have to keep on connecting with people. Like, you see, there's a lot happening in the space of charity, and every organization is involved now with doing something for the community, for the local community. To help people, you know, get places. So it's important. And I want to say something, and then no filters. You see, I kind of transition into coming to the West has really helped me. You know, first thing first, and without networking, I wouldn't have stumbled on things called podcasts. Now, podcast has been a game changer for me. It's helped me a whole lot. Now, being that I could connect with great minds like yours, listening to the sayings you guys have to help build my potential more into getting into the world of cyber, you know, it's very, very great. And then there are different channels where you could help people. Now, financial is very, very good. If you can help somebody with probably £1, it could go a long way to get him maybe some burger or something to put something in his tummy. Now, if you can help somebody with a resource, it could be books, it could be a YouTube channel, it could be a podcast like yours. You know, there are other, I don't want to start mentioning a whole lot. There's so many ways to help people. So that's a very, very good point.
Yeah, well, I think no matter what you do, you know, if you've got a ton of money in your hand, it should all be the same. So if you've got a ton of money in your hand, you should be thinking, how can I use this to help somebody or help anybody? Like, I always think, like, is my mother okay? You know, does she need money? So I thought, right, how can I help people new to cyber? I was like, well, for a start, I'm new. And I thought my work ethic, like the way, my grit, basically, my superpower is my grit. My get up every morning, my, you know, do all the things I have to do and make sure they're done every day without laziness. So that's something I do have professionalism in. So I thought, right, well, I'll try and base my show around my strengths and also base it around my weaknesses. So my weaknesses is cyber, you know, penetration testing and stuff. It's something that I'm going at. It feels like a never-ending story. But the things like, mindset and networking and getting up and getting the job done and certain things you can do, certain books you can read that are going to change your life, I can share that with people in the knowledge that I know exactly what I'm talking about because I've done it. It's working for me. So I wanted to share that with people. So that was my approach. And how can I help people? You have to be able to use your strengths to help people build up their strengths, basically. Because you can't just start saying stuff like, go to the gym and drink more water and eat less. You have to actually be doing these things and showing results for them to work.
Yeah, you're very, very right. You've said too many points in one. That's you're a bank of knowledge. You're a bank of action. I really admire how you do this stuff, like get up 2 a.m., 3 a.m. Except if I have something I'm thinking about that would like trigger my biological alarm clock. I don't think I'll be awake by 2, 3 a.m. But one thing I discovered, you see, there's this book, Atomic Habits. It's a book like, I would love everybody in your spare time, even if it's like 10, 15 minutes a day to a page, just get a paragraph from it, it's a powerful book. So if we could just form those habits. Now, it's very, very easy for you because you've done it consistently, at least maybe for like every 2, you start probably, I want to ask you a question. Sorry, I'm taking turns this time. Now, you see, how did you start this habit? Let's start from there. Like the very first time you wanted to build this habit of, okay, I want to get up every morning by 2. And then by 3, I want to meditate and I want to think. I want to plan my day. I want to schedule. And then by 4, I want to take a glass of water. I want to do this. By 5, I want to go for my road walk. How did you start that?
Well, it started earlier than where I'm going to start the story from, but where it really grasps me, it was a book again. It was a book called the 5 a.m. Club, and I forget who wrote it. But this book, the 5 a.m. Club, and it honestly, if I was you, I'd go out and grab it. It's sort of a self-help book, but it's written in the form of a story. So there's like this woman and this guy. They're not happy in their lives. A woman's just lost her business because she got pushed out by the partners or something who threatening to kill her and stuff. And this other guy's there as an artist, and he's not doing well. He's overweight, blah blah blah. And they go to this talk, and there's this billionaire there, and he's telling everyone what they need to do, and they're sort of like, oh, this is bullshit, But then he actually pulls them out of the crowd and offers them to go on a retreat with them. So these two people, the artist and the businesswoman, they go out on this retreat, and through the story, as they like go for dinner and go for this, it gives you little action points all the way through. But to cut a long story short, basically the main idea was wake up at 5 a.m., get up at 5 a.m. every day and do a bunch of stuff. So for instance, I'd wake up at 5 a.m., I'd go downstairs, I'd do my push-ups, I'd do sit-ups, I'd do whatever workout I was doing that day. Then I'd go back upstairs, I'd meditate for a little bit, and then I'd use that meditated time to start writing my feelings in a journal. And then I'd go out for a walk at like 6 a.m. when the streets were still quiet and I was wide awake. And by 8 o'clock, I'd got so much stuff done. I was like, this is really good. And don't get me wrong, at first, I wasn't just getting up at 5 a.m. and happy to do these exercises. It was tough, man. It was tough. I didn't want to get up every single day. I did not want to get up. But that 5 a.m., once I started doing that for like a year, 2 years, it turned into 4 a.m. and then it turned into 3 a.m. And then it actually got to the point where I was getting up at like 1 a.m. Because one night I'd come home from work, like I work on a construction site, carrying scaffolding, carrying windows all day, man, and it's physically, physically demanding work. So I come home one day and I think I was doing TCM stuff. I was working on TCM, like just taking notes and following along with the videos. And I just could not stay awake. I was drinking an energy drink. I drank the energy drink and I was still exhausted. It was like 7 p.m. So I was like, I'm going to bed. I went to bed, and my biological clock is 6 hours, and I'm up no matter what time I go to sleep. So I went to sleep at 6 p.m. and I woke up at 1 a.m. And I got up, I walked around the house, and I was instantly, my brain thought, right, come on, let's go back to bed. It's 1 a.m. And then I thought, no, I've been asleep for 6 hours. I'm awake. Let's do some work before I have to go to work at 7 a.m. So then I managed to get like 6 hours of pretty much solid work in the morning. And I thought, this is genius. So I'd get up at 1 o'clock in the morning. I'd do 6 hours of work on the computer with my brain switched on. I'd go to work, I'd be tired at my job, I'd be mentally tired at my job, which is great because they don't pay me to think, they pay me to lift stuff. So I'd go there and then I'd come home, have some food, get a shower, straight to bed, do it again, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. And before I knew it, I was creating documents every single day. I was flying through all my study work, and this is pretty much how I ended up to where I am now. I will say at first, when you start building these habits, to the people who are listening anyways, when you start building habits like that, at first you're going to be really anal about them. You're going to be writing down everything, like Daniel said before, drink water at 4 p.m. or do meditation at this time. At first you'll start being like that, but once you start getting into it, you'll realize you can be more relaxed. And, maybe you don't want to meditate this day, or maybe you don't want to work out that day because you've already put in the groundwork. You can start to pick and choose what you want to do. And after, I'd say after about 3 years, it starts to become very more relaxed. So apologies, Daniel. I won't keep going on about that. Do you have any points to add to what I just said?
Oh, well, that's very, very wicked. It's good you've told me how you got into it. I won't go into how I got into it because I would just like to iterate some points. What I would like to add is, you see, now atomic habits, you started doing that thing and it just became part of you. Like your system has been trained. It's just more like the neural networks of today. Like your system has learned that pattern. So our brain is powerful, and then you just have to keep feeding it. You need to just consciously tell it what to do. And then I believe the computer of today is modeled after our brain. So once our brain has gotten those instructions saved into the non-volatile memory, you just find yourself organically doing all of these things. So the only point I'm going to add is, now I believe you've helped me with information, and then your great audience that are tuned into are going to pick out something from this. So now I want to just say something before I close this point. Talking about helping people, you see, my dad, I grew up seeing him helping people all his life. He was a man of sacrifice. Just like you give your sweat at work, lifting all those stuff just to give yourself and your family a good life and all those stuff. So he sacrificed everything for us, and not just us, for our relatives, for strangers, and all those stuff. So I saw him growing up. I grew up seeing him do all of those things. So it became my habit to try to help people. Well, sometimes from the emotional point of view, or just naturally. Now, you see, I lost my dad somewhere when I was in university, during my first degree. And because of that, as a family, we chose to now make it a culture of helping people. So, and then we said, okay, how can we help people? How could we give back to life, that my dad lived, and then give back to the community, give back to just whoever. So we have to just keep on, how can we impact people? Now, you've impacted me with your life journey. So what we did was we started a school, and then this school just helps people that, want to get quality education at low tuition. And then another thing we did was to start a foundation, like a non-governmental foundation, non-profit. And then is to try to help people get back to education. I come from a third world country, or a developing country, and put it that way, where, the economy, we have different issues, trying to grow and become like you guys here in the UK. So we have a lot of people that are out of school. We have a lot of people that are struggling with habits. We have a lot of people that are struggling with life. And so we started a foundation, just to honor my late dad. And then the goal is just to help people get educated, help people get back to school, help them with either books, help them with resources, help them with just so many things. And then, that's just been one thing that has kept me going. I'm living my life, not just for myself, but to help people. So thank you, Frankie, for telling me your story. And then it's pleased to learn from you today also.
No, and thank you for telling me yours. And I'm sorry to hear about your father as well, Daniel. I know it's hard to lose the people we love in our lives, but at least he left a grand example for you. And I don't know if you have any brothers or sisters, or for you and your family members to actually go out and help people. I think that's why mentorship is so important. So I know your father isn't there now, but you still live on in your memory of helping people, which means that you're going to go out and help people, which means your daughter will see you helping people, and it creates a new cycle of positive reinforcement for the next generation. So I think starting from your father, I'm sure your grandfather, maybe he was really helpful and, wanted to help people as well. Maybe that's where your father learned from. So to keep it going. So since we're sort of talking about the points of fatherhood and, stuff like that, I know that you're a father. I don't know if you want to talk about it, but I'm a father as well, so I understand. How I always love to ask this because personally for tips for myself, but, I know there's lots of people who are not, I don't like saying the word struggling. We're not struggling. We're moving forward at our own paces. But, who have children and, they're trying to balance studying and breaking into cyber with, changing nappies and making bottles. So how do you do it, Daniel?
Wow. Well, I had to take that deep breath, because it's like, there's no, let me start with this. You see, there's no journal, there's no blueprint to how it's done. And then, like they say, different, strikes for different folks, something like that. I can't remember that quote. So it will work differently for different people. And each of us we have unique situations, in life. And so fatherhood is something that it's life changing. Let me put it this way. So I'll try to answer this question in a very good way. You see, mentorship is very, very important. Now, I never saw my dad as a mentor, but it just made me realize that he was my first mentor. Because naturally, now you tell your child, hey, stop that. He's not going to stop that. He's going to keep doing that thing. But now your child might forget the instruction you're giving him, but he will not forget the things he see you doing. He's never going to forget the things he see you doing. So if you're waking up early to read your book, now how did I start drawing? Because I saw my father always with a pen on his book. And I can't remember how I started, but I want to imagine that because I saw him doing that, I started doing it too. I always take a pen, a paper, and I'm writing. So mentorship, we are going to come back to mentorship. Mentorship is everything. It's going to take you places. So now, for people who are fathers, or even if you're not father, once you have responsibilities in life, and look at it this way, changing nappies. I'm very skilled at changing diaper now, and I could do it with my eyes closed. And so you see, it's going to challenge you. I won't lie to you because, like you said, it's not a struggle. I struggled with it at the beginning. You need to get to work if you're working, get to school if you're schooling. You need to balance it with your wife, and then because your child, like here in the UK, is different from my home country. In my home country, you could have granny around support you. You could have a nanny or something like what they call a child, like a caretaker. You could go take your child to the nursery and all those stuffs. But here in the UK, the culture is different. So now, how has it worked for me? Because first of all, you have to build a team. So you see, when you want to get into the industry, organizations are going to be looking out for your transferable skills, your soft skills. Can you play in a team? So now your family is your first team. So I and my wife, we juggle these responsibilities. Now I have to go to school. Now, I'm a full-time parent. Why do I say full-time parent? Because when I'm not studying, I'm parenting. The law says I can work only 20 hours. So now I had to bring in my family to help me stabilize. Now, when I came into the UK, I was all alone. So I was doing my own thing. Sometimes I go a whole day without eating. I'm studying, I'm learning about cyber. I want to look into the protocols. I want to jump on Hack the Box. I want to jump on, I want to look at Try Hack Me. I want to jump on Gerald's channel. I want to jump on, now there's information overload everywhere. We'll talk about that when we talk about mentorship. So now, how do I balance this thing there's no, now, you set an alarm that I want to study by 3 a.m. and then your child starts crying by 2:45. What do? You have to show up for your duty. So there's no rock, scissors, paper way it's going to work. But what I'm going to say is that, first of all, you just have to consciously have your goals in front of you. Let everything around you remind you about your goal. Put up stickers. I have a Hack the Box mark, which reminds me to hack. Let everything around you remind you about your goal. Look at your child every time you're changing that diaper, and then I want to give her a better tomorrow. To give her a better tomorrow, what are those things I need to do? As I'm changing that diaper, I need to give her a very, very good foundation. Something happened to me yesterday as a father. For the first time, my daughter picked up my pen and she was writing on my book. And I'm like, this is crazy. She's doing the things she's seen me do. Now, whenever I'm studying, my daughter walks up to me. She leaves her toys, her cartoons. And then I got her this screen so she could watch her. Oh, sorry, you can't see the screen right now. But I got her a screen so that she could watch stuff. I got her, toys and everything that could distract her. But she will leave what she's doing. She will come to me. She wants me to carry her. Why? Now, when I carry her, the next thing my daughter is trying to do is, she wants to touch my keyboard because she's always seen me, always typing something. And I was like, oh man, again, I just want to study. I just want to break into cyber. I need to give cyber like 5 hours a day, 6 hours a day. And then she's always cutting down to 1 hour, 2 hours, sometimes no hour. So there's no real like stuff that will work. So, I tried something. I bought her a laptop. The laptop is far. I would have liked to show that to you, and then you can see it also if you're listening on, and all that stuff, but it didn't work. I'll be like, girl, press your laptop. It has sound. It has an interface where she could interact with. And then she will still come to me. She wants to press mine. Now, okay, I'll leave mine. I will sit down with her. Try to okay, let's press yours together. And then it worked. Once I'm there. So fatherhood determines you being present. So, you just have to find a way that works for you. And the way that works for me is I do all of these things. Now, anytime she gets distracted with Miss Rachel or something, or Grace's Corner, I run to my system, or I run to my phone. I try to listen to a podcast. I try to get on the next material I can, schoolwork. I try to meet up with deadlines and all of those things. So it may work for me, but when I'm tired, sometimes I find myself, I'm sleeping off. It happens to me. And then one good thing my daughter does is that when I'm sleeping off, she comes to wake me up. It's just crazy. And so there's no dynamic to all these things. And then when my wife comes back home, I turn on my magic fire system. So my wife comes home 7 o'clock from work, 7:30, and then I try to see, okay, how can I study? How can I shower? Try to get the best productive of myself before my, physical strength wears down, and then I go to bed. So, there's no way, just find what works for you and, just build on it.
Well, I think what you said, it sort of made me think about the way I do it. You have to prioritize what's important. So, of course, the child's the most important. So there's no way, and you understand yourself, there's no way you can be shut up, Sota. My son's called Sota. I can't be shut up, Sota. I'm trying to hack the box. It just doesn't work like that. If he starts crying, I have to stop doing everything I'm doing, make sure he's okay. And I don't even think twice about it. I think you're right. It's different for everyone, but
in my experience, I don't even think about what I have to do with my child, If there's something wrong with him, I know if there's something wrong. I know if I've got time to work or not. I'm very fortunate. I do have a partner who's, she's currently out of work looking after him, and, she makes the dinners. She looks after him for me. So, because she really supports what I'm trying to do here.
Exactly, man. Exactly, man. And then you see, fatherhood doesn't limit you. You see, life, you just have to keep learning. You see, the illiterate of the 21st century is the person who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. This is something I heard one of my late mentors keep saying, Professor Obayon of late memory. And then she kept telling us these things back in college, You have to just keep learning. You have to keep learning. So your status, your background, your educational status, your financial status, your relationship status. We have some people who lost their partner, probably to childbirth or some unforeseen circumstances, and then, life doesn't pause for you. While you can pause hacking the box to take care of your child, life will not pause for you to get to where you want to go to. So there are people who are broken into their career at 40s, at 50s. So, anything that will make you get to where you want to do, you just have to do it. Now, a friend of mine I met on LinkedIn, Stefan, said something. Elon Musk, who is Elon Musk? He's one of the billionaires that are well respected, the influential people of the world today. How did he become a rocket scientist? Elon Musk was locked up in his office for years studying how to be a scientist. Now, probably he didn't have I don't know what his responsibility were in the family level that enabled him to do that, or probably he was single at that moment. It's something that, we might have to look at his biography and how he walked up, the ladder. But what I'm trying to draw out of this story is, you just have to keep on pushing. If it's 1 hour a day, I read something on Twitter from a carousel, on Twitter the other day that if you want to be good at anything, there's this lady, a prominent lady, she works with Google that shared that stuff. She said all you need in a year is 100 hours to be very good in the field. And then it's going to put you at the 95% of people who are good at that skill at the end of the year. Well, why that numbers, it's tricky because the 95 people, the people at the top in that skill, they are definitely improving. That's why they got there. So, but now when you break that to each day, you require just 18 minutes of focus on that particular skill of interest. So if you want to get into cyber, all you need every day is minimum of 18 minutes. My personal mentor I have currently, Vetkan Trama, he actually suggests that if you can give cyber 2 hours of your day, well, it might not be 7, it depends on what works for you. If you can give it 2 hours of your 7 days of the week, perfect. If you can give it 2 hours of your 5 days of the week, perfect. Now, if you can do that consistently, well, you might fail some days, maybe you're sick, or just today, man, burnouts or whatever. If you can just do that for the whole year, you're going to break into that field. So all you need is a year to break into anything, I believe, you want to get into. So that's for the entry level anyway. It depends on at what point you want to enter. We have different entry points, into this field. So, and just to wrap it up there, just be committed. 18 minutes a day is more than enough. Try to prioritize. And for these 18 minutes, I want to just lock out. Now, whatever your distractions are, kill it. It's very, very difficult. So, you just have to identify what's distracting you aside from your responsibilities. If it's your child cannot be your distraction. So if it's your phone, keep your phone away. There's something very, very strange I do. When I wanted to do all of these things, I said, okay. When I stumbled on 2 podcasts that's helped me so far, Hacking Your Potential was one of them. I won't lie, no filters. And then The Diary of the CEO, who was shared with me by a friend. He's a CEO of his own company in Coach House. His name is Noye. I call him Noye. So he shared that podcast with me, and then I watched that podcast. And then there was also a podcast my mentor shared with me. There's so many podcasts. I don't want to start mentioning all of them. Just let's save our time. And then you see. Now, one thing I took out from all of these people who are trying to motivate us to be the best we can as to building our potentials like you're doing is you have to filter the noise. What are your noise? your phone is one of them. Our phone is very good. Technology is great, but it can be a distraction. So I did something. I set an alarm clock for 1 hour every day. So this alarm clock started by 6:45 because that's when my wife has to, leave the house. And then for every hour, this alarm goes off. Now, I didn't set what I want to do for every hour, but every hour it just calls my attention. Hey, what are you doing, man? Now, another thing I did was I turned off all notifications from social media. I wanted to be intentional that I want to pick up this guy, okay? And then intentionally go into the app. Then that's when I'm going to see the notifications, the messages. Because when I keep hearing the ding, ding, the only thing I left is my calls, my call apps, so my phone app, message, and then I'm not trying to detect any app that anybody should leave. And that was the only app I started with. Then now when I start building the habit of not being distracted to an extent, I still get distracted. I'm not perfect. I then included things like my email, and then I stopped there. I didn't want to include any social media app. So it's helped me form the culture. So what I'm going to say is there's no perfect way to do these things, because you might have imagine someone who his business is on social media. He needs a social media app notifying him about stuffs. So just filter the noise. Now I will end with this. I stumbled on something that said the most productive app on your phone is the flight mode. It's not an app, but it's a function of your phone. See, sometimes when you want to study, if your phone is a distraction, put it on flight mode. Man, you're going to get productive, though you'll be thinking about the phone. Now, Steve said something in his podcast. You see, that was Jetty Shea. Jetty Shea said something. There's a rule. I think it was Steve. There was a rule, the 5 minutes rule. Now, think about when you think of your distraction, procrastinate it. Tell your mind, I will pick up that phone 5 minutes later. And then it will help you just postpone that action for 5 minutes. So take note of those things that distract you and then filter it. I'll stop there because we could just go on and on and on and on.
No, I actually wanted to add on a few points you said there, actually. So you were saying about if you do something every day over the course of a year, you'll be ahead of most people. I fully believe that philosophy to be true, but I sort of look at it from the other side of the spectrum, where I'm like, even if you just do like you said, 18 minutes a day, miss a day, whatever, as long as you keep going, there's nobody on this planet who has done something consistently for 10 years and is not a professional in it, And like, if you can go 10 years of doing the same thing, and becoming the best at it, you will beat most of the people just because they give up and they stop doing it. You'll surpass people just through their inability to carry on, as long as you did. Never mind being. So for anybody who thinks they're not intelligent enough to do something, that's bullshit. You don't have to be intelligent. You have to be consistent. Intelligence doesn't come. I know there's the exceptions. Some people are just geniuses and they can just put their hands to anything and be great at it in a couple of minutes. But for the majority of us, it takes constant consistency to build these skills. And I give myself year goals. I'm like, next year, I want this podcast to be doing well. Do you know what I mean? But in 10 years, I want to be an industry leader in cybersecurity. I want to pick, a specific niche within the niche and, be a call that gets made when something big happens in what I've been doing for the last 10 years. So I break it down that way. But I also wanted to talk about what you said about the phones as well. Flight mode is the best application on your phone. I guess so many people, well, not so many people, but a few people, without saying any names, they'll send me a text message saying, "Oh, I'm so busy, I've got so much work to do," and they'll be telling me about their work, and I'm like, "All right, man, get it done," And then it's like, "Yeah, I know, but yeah, this and that, and I'm like, "You're not getting the work done. This is why you've got loads of work to do, because you sat telling me you've got loads of work to do. Put the phone down, put it on flight mode, put it somewhere else. I understand some people can't put their phone on flight mode, you know, you have an important call, but what Daniel said, you know, turn off all the notifications. I think this is so important because, you know, that ding, 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 you get a dopamine hit every time that ding goes off. You know, like imagine you're talking to a hot girl or a hot boy, if that's what you're into, and you're waiting for that message to go and you hear the ding, you get this rush, you'll get this rush through your body. That's complete adrenaline and dopamine hit that, and that's like taking a drug. So it's very dangerous, especially if you want to be good at things. You can't keep hitting that fix. You need to turn it off, and your brain will start to work so much better when you go, oh, do you know what? I haven't checked LinkedIn in a while. Let's go and have a look what LinkedIn's saying to me. And you'll have a bunch of messages and a bunch of notifications to go and look at. You can spend 5 minutes going through them all, and then you can get back to work. So if you are somebody who struggles with procrastination or procrastinating, put your phone on flight mode and at least turn off the notifications on all your social media. I've deleted a lot of my social media. I only use them now for work. So I got a Twitter account because I wanted to speak to Anton, the RC, the Road Code Execution Man, for a podcast. And that was how he prefers people to approach him. So I downloaded Twitter for that. I think I downloaded Instagram because someone was on there I wanted to speak to as well. But the only app I use now is LinkedIn because, you know, I get to meet great people like you through LinkedIn. I think the only social media you really need to be social, and if you want to be a professional, is LinkedIn, really. I think it's definitely it's the top tier for professional networking you can find, for sure. You ain't going to find many cybersecurity guys hanging out on Instagram, put it that way.
Nah, definitely not. So I'll take out something very, very important from what you say. You need to identify your platform. So what platform works for you? Because you can't be everywhere. Although I never deleted any of these apps, I just kept on training. I struggled with it, kept on training my mind. I used to be very active on all of them before. I was active on Facebook, I was active on Twitter, I was active on Instagram, I was active on... So imagine being everywhere. So imagine giving Facebook 1 hour a day, TikTok 1 hour a day, Twitter 1 hour a day, Instagram 1 hour a day, and then probably you give LinkedIn 1 hour a day. Now the whole day is all gone. So you need to narrow these things down, identify the channel you need. So I consciously, like for Facebook, I've not opened the app for like almost a day. So now, thank God for all these phones these days, Android phone. I started from Android before I migrated to Apple. Now there's a future. You see, we just get all these expensive gadgets and we're not using some of the features. Digital well-being helped me start these things. So I started looking at my phone and then what are the apps I'm spending time in? You know, every phone, Apple has also that functionality. Look at those dashboard. And then you could see that you're spending 2 hours of your day on, I used to be a heavy gamer. There was a time of my life during COVID, for instance, I was playing games, say 8 hours a day, 7 hours a day. I play a game at work sometimes, you know, all of those crazy culture that I had to just, you know, do away with. And then, so social media also is just the same thing. So if you track all of these statistics, so data is something that is very, very important. Like in the UK, I appreciate what the UK is doing with data. Big data, it's like a whole crazy thing. So you need to go into these statistics and look at your productivity. What is eating me up? Because as a human being, imagine staying a whole week without eating, Frankie. What's going to happen to you? So you need to feed your soul. You need to feed your physical system. You need to feed the container that is going to keep you going. Just the same way, you need to feed your mind. You need to feed, your mantra, your chakra. You need to feed it also. Feed your spirit being. Feed your, you need to feed every cell of your body with the right things. So if you can set that thing straight, it's going to be a game changer. Now, having said that, once you identify the channel, just work out your time on how you can utilize it best. But there's something that's very, very important that I'm going to say just as we wrap up all these stuffs and then with the time we have left. Consistency is more important than any other thing else. So you just need to be consistent with what you're doing. So now, one thing is you need to always consciously remember what sets your soul on fire. What's that thing that keeps you attracted? So where do I want to be? Like you said, Frankie, where do I want to be in 10 years' time? My first mentor, my father, had me do that thing. When we were growing up, we wrote where we want to be in 10 years' time. He said, I'm going to keep this paper, and in the next 10 years, I'm going to show it to you. We're going to review the goals that you set down, and then you're going to write the next for the next 10 years. Now, sadly, I lost him to continue this culture, but it's something that you just reminded me also. And this is something that all of us in my family had done. And right after this call, I'm going to remind all of us, because we are in different countries right now. My brother is in Netherlands, the other one is in Canada. My sister is here in the UK, my mom is in Africa. But it's something that I'm going to have all of us to review where we wrote for 10 years. And I want to write down, you've taught me something, I want to write down where do I want to be in the next 10 years. I'm going to be somewhere around my mid-40s in the next 10 years. Where am I going to be? Now, break this thing down into sizable chunk. Let's break it down to bit size. Break it down to packets that is trying to like flow through. Imagine your whole life as a packet that is being captured on Wireshark. So I want to look at this bunch, probably like Chris would do, Chris on YouTube. I love his masterclass. So I want to look at life that way. Break these things down to what you want to do yearly, what you want to do monthly, what you want to do weekly, what you want to do daily if possible. My mentor gave me an Excel sheet that helped me track all of these things, my daily goals. So for any day that I get productive with my goals, I tick a yes. And the days that I'm not productive, I tick a no. At the end of the month, I'm going to use Python to do some dashboard, look at my productivity. So now, why this is going to work for me might not work for everyone, but there's no hard rule. There's something you say you do. You have a journal where you write down your thoughts in the morning. Now imagine the kind of magic that creates for you for the rest of the day. So feed your focus. The way your body cannot stay without food is just the same way you need to feed your mind. Feed your focus. Channel everything around you. Channel the energy. Channel your strategy. Channel everything around you into productivity.
No, you're absolutely right, Daniel. And what you said about, feeding your mind, like I sort of look at, after I've been to the gym, I'll have some kefir, some porridge with blueberries and strawberries and nuts and seeds and stuff. That's what I'll eat. That's going to fuel my stomach, good stuff. And I sort of see there's people who are on social media all day or playing games on the phone all day. I see that as the equivalent of feeding your brain like a Big Mac and a KFC and, washing it down with a large Coke. You're doing the exact same thing to your mind as you are your body. But I think it's important to make this point because I don't think a lot of people actually know that's what they're doing. I think if people knew that, scrolling through TikTok or scrolling through their Facebook was actually the same as, eating deep fried chicken every single minute of the day, and it was destroying their brain in the same manner, I think they'd stop, I think they'd put it down and go, oh, wow, I didn't realize this is actually as bad as it is. I think people really underestimate the power of what these, I call them drugs, man, especially TikTok. I went on TikTok and I could not put it down. I was like, go, go, go. And I was like, whoa. I was like, that is some powerful stuff. That's more powerful than any of them.
Yeah, man. It's crazy. The same thing happened to me with Instagram. If all the platforms, you see, because you're just going to keep seeing stuffs. Now, even if you set an alarm clock that you want to use your social media for 1 hour, that's not going to happen. You're going to use it for 1 hour, 30 minutes. You're going to use it for 2 hours because you're going to see the next interesting thing that you would love to watch. Now, but you see, social media is not bad. It connects us to people. Without social media, I won't be talking to Frankie today, but we have to just consciously learn on the go. There's this movie that's very, very, that has taught me a lot, Inception. And it's a movie I like to watch over and over again, you see. Learn from everything if possible. Learn from, you just have to keep learning, man. So there's no hard rule to read, but the more you can channel your productivity, the better for you. There are people who are into branding, who are into, their influencers. Well, why they need to sleep on social media every day? Someone who wants to hack his potential into getting into cybersecurity, definitely that's not going to work. So I 200% agree with you, Frankie.
Well, you made me think of a good point there where, people who are on, you know how, like, I don't know, especially on TikTok anyways, it's probably on Instagram Shorts, but you know the people are like, 5 ways to be more productive, or 5 ways to become the better you, or 10 ways to become the best man you can be. It's like, okay, right, this is all great advice, but people get very confused by thinking, oh yeah, I'll keep listening to this advice. This is great advice. I'm not scrolling on my phone. I'm getting actionable points for my life, but they're not actually taking these these points and putting them into action. So like they're scrolling through, and yeah, but they're still just feeding the junk, because like if you sit there and watch motivational videos, basically, aren't they, to motivate you to get up and do something. If you keep watching motivational videos all day, that's not being motivated. That's just the same addicted scroll. And you can watch one of those videos and put 2 of the hundreds of points you've just seen into action, and you're going to have a great life straight away. Yes, it is great advice, but it's not being utilized properly by most people. They're still just scrolling, and they're being tricked into believing that they're doing something good for themselves by watching the motivational stuff.
Exactly, man. Exactly, man. You said it right. See, like, there's no hard rule, but motivational videos, I was in that trap. You know, the internet has information. There's information overload. So I've watched countless videos, and so what I think now works for me is this. I kind of schedule time. Okay, first of all, I've not gotten it perfect yet, but I want to start my day with a podcast. And then I wake up every morning, and then I try to turn on a podcast, and then I try to listen to it. All right. And then when the podcast is done, most podcasts last for like 1 hour. There's some shorter ones, 30 minutes. You know, there are some that are like seasonal films, you know, just more like you watching, one of these shows, you know. And you see, if you just get stuck watching YouTube videos hour after hour after hour, that's crazy. Like you said, you're not motivated. Now, the only time this thing's going to work for you is when you start creating actionable points. In fact, one thing I'm doing right now is I'm not out there watching podcasts every day anymore. What I want to do is, it's just like reading a book. I want to watch a podcast, watch it again, listen to a podcast, or if it's a YouTube video or whatsoever it is, or if it's a book, I want to read a book, write down things from it, or even if I'm not writing is good. Write down things from it. Those who think on paper think better. So write down things from it, then try to apply it to my life. Now, listen to that podcast again. Well, it might sound redundant, but you know, something that you've heard twice, or you've seen twice, or you've heard twice, or 3 times, it will stick more. It's just like revising for an exam. So now we try to hack systems, you know, then you're trying to like craft some payload, you know, trying to, remember some syntax, you do your whole scanning, you know, work your way up through 7Q chain or some framework or whatever. And then the next time you're trying to hack something, you need to sometimes refer to those resources, because you might not remember exactly what worked this particular time. So, but now, as you keep doing these things, you keep taking those action points, you know, repeatedly, it sticks to you. And then before you know it, you start throwing all those commands there and all those flags, you know, you're using your mmap, you know, or you're crafting your call, or you're working out some search exploit payloads, driving with Python and all of those things, or, you know, you're using the tools better. So, like you said something, start taking steps, start doing, trying to like apply, listen to one podcast today, apply it for the rest of your day. When you wake up the next day, if you want to start with a podcast too, listen to that podcast, apply it across all of your day. Now, if you start successfully doing all of these things that the person's advising you to do, man, in fact, 1 year is too long. You're going to break into this magic, world of productivity.
No, it's a great point. And let me think for a second, Daniel. Yeah, that was it. So you were saying about, watch a podcast and actually put that into action. Like if you just, I did this with Try Hack Me. So instead, I wasn't taking notes. There's a reason why I got into the top 1% of Try Hack Me so quickly. And it's because I was playing for speed. I wasn't playing for knowledge. I was completing a room. I was capturing the flag. I was like, oh, on to the next one. I was addicted to, like, surely have you rooted a box before?
Oh yeah, I've done so many of that. I started like you. I was on Hack the Box and I was following those walkthrough, rushing through it, and and all those stuff.
So I'll get back to what I was saying. So you've rooted a box before, so you understand the rush you get, don't you, when you finally complete it. So it's the same. It's like a drug. So I would do that, and then I was like, oh, this feels great. So I'll do it again. 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 And thank God for my mentor. He basically stopped me in my tracks. He was like, how are you so far on Try Hack Me? Because he was doing the red team pathway as well. And he's a seasoned penetration tester. He's like, how the hell are you doing this as a beginner? I said, because I'm just flying through it. I said, I'm sort of finding the answers, and then I'm like, because I didn't know what I was doing. I thought, I don't know the answers, so I need to find the answers. And then hopefully I'll just start to learn it as I keep doing it, which has worked that way. But he said, well, what about your notes? And I said, I haven't been taking notes. He was like, okay. He was like, what's SQLI? He was like, what's SQL injection? Explain it to me. I was like, well, I've done it, but I can't explain it to you. He was like, okay, what's cross-site scripting? I was like, you've got a point. And I'm going to have to wrap up here, Daniel, because I'm late for the gym and my trainer's going to be angry with me. And he's already, if I turn up late, he's going to make me work harder than he already does.
You have to stay committed. This is you taking steps, taking like your actions. So you have a commitment and you're trying to keep to it. So hit the gym, break those muscles, man.
And that concludes our inspiring journey with Daniel Okoro. A testament to the incredible heights we can reach when we combine passion, determination, and genuine human connection. For all our listeners, we hope Daniel's story has touched you, inspired you, and perhaps taught you a thing or two about what it truly means to hack your potential. If you have enjoyed today's episode, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. We have many more fascinating guests lined up and can't wait to share their stories and insights with you. Remember, each one of us has the potential to achieve greatness. It's all about determination, resilience, and never ceasing to learn and grow. Until next time, this is your host, Frankie Thomas, encouraging you to keep pushing, keep exploring, and keep hacking your potential.